Hi, my name is Emma Kerr, and this is my colleague Emma Doolan. We are both clinical psychologists, and we work in student counselling and psychological services as part of both the online team and face-to-face counsellors. And we're here today just to talk a little bit about managing stress related to COVID-19. So we know that for many of you, there will have been a significant increase in your workload. You may have been in contact with a lot of distressed students who are worried about COVID-19. You may also have concerns about your own family and friends or yourself. And you may have experienced racism or witnessed racism in the community or on social media related to the virus. So just want to acknowledge that those experiences it's understandable that they would impact on your work and your personal lives, and we're going to talk just a little bit about some strategies to manage that.
So firstly, it's important to keep in mind that everyone reacts differently to these sorts of situations, and how a person reacts is dependent on what's going on for them. Some people might have other stresses going on that are related to work, in their personal life, or health-related concerns, and these factors will influence how a person responds to a situation like COVID-19. It's also, important to recognise that it's common and it's normal to experience emotions like stress, feeling sad or confused, feeling scared, maybe even angry in a crisis situation like this. And it can lead to anxiety and behaviours that people engage in to try and reduce that anxiety or that uncertainty that they're feeling about future events. They might begin to worry a lot more and engage in a lot of reassurance seeking, or repeatedly or excessively checking information sources, avoiding situations, people or places that are making them concerned, or even isolating and disengaging from activities or loved ones due to this worry and concern. Factors which can heighten or exacerbate anxiety is uncertainty about what's going to happen in the future. Media coverage, especially coverage that tends to sensationalise or exaggerate headlines related to COVID-19. The World Health Organization has actually recognised this, terming it an infodemic, which, recognising this unhelpful spreading of misinformation related to COVID-19. And it can lead to this herd mentality. So what we mean by herd mentality is this tendency to be overly influenced by other people's behaviours, rather than relying on our own instincts or our own understanding of the situation. And as a result, groups can become less responsive to changes in their environment. An example of this recently is panic buying of toilet paper in the supermarkets. So lots of people are seeing others panic buy, and they feel they should be doing the same despite what the experts might be saying. Also with panic buying, experts are saying that this might help people actually feel a bit more of a sense of control in this uncertain situation. Under circumstances like this, people feel the need to do something that is proportionate to what they perceive the level of the crisis to be. We know, washing our hands and practicing good coughing hygiene is the best response at this time. Yet for many people, hand washing seems to be too ordinary. This is a dramatic event, therefore a dramatic response is required, and so that leads people to excessively stock up on items like toilet paper.
So in terms of managing your own stress and anxiety about the virus, there's one thing that you can do is to really be aware of your own thinking. So there's different styles of thinking that we can engage in, and worry is a really common style which tends to happen automatically, where our thinking is really repetitive. We go over and over particular thoughts, and often our thoughts are focused on things that are maybe exaggerated, worst case scenario, and things that are happening in the future or potentially happening in the future, rather than the here and now of what's actually happening. So worry can be your brain's way of actually trying to feel like it's in control of a situation that might be outside of its control. So when we're worrying, it can feel like our brain is very busy, we can feel like we're being productive, but actually it tends to just lead to increased anxiety and not usually any useful action. So constant worry can also have a secondary impact in terms of other aspects of our functioning, such as our ability to sleep, our appetite, and reducing our ability to focus and concentrate on other important areas of life. So problem solving, on the other hand, is a more rational, logical style of thinking in which we consider what the current problem is and brainstorm potential solutions and come up with some options and with a plan of action. So most of us, or I would say all of us, will engage in worry at some point in our lives, and one of the steps to kind of manage is to really just recognise, right now I'm engaging in worry. This isn't actually going to help the situation. You may need to have distract yourself with something else for a short period of time, or try and shift across into, okay, how can I think about this in a problem-solving type of way, focus on the here and now, what can I do? One important thing to note with problem solving is that we can only solve a problem the way we have some control over the situation or some aspect of the situation. And so that leads into needing to understand which parts of the situation we can control. So the circle of concern is a tool that we can use to help us to unravel which parts of the situation we have control over. So the outside layer is all the things that we are concerned about that we may or may not have control over. The circle of influence is the actions that we can take to influence people or events to address our concern. They may affect the outcome, they may not. And then in the center is the circle of control, is that where our actions are directly within our control that we can take to address our concerns. So we want to be able to focus our attention on the things that we can control, because this is where it's likely to be most effective. And if we focus on the things that we can't control, highly likely to lead to feeling really discouraged and anxious about the situation. So we've done an example here with the concern, the impact of COVID-19 on my family, your own students, staff, and myself. And so if we start with the things that are outside of your direct control or influence, they might be things like stopping the virus, other people's interpretation and reaction to their fears. That's something that we don't have control over. And some of the distorted facts or information out there. Some of us might have some influence over those things. We may be able to talk to some people, but a lot of the media is going to be outside of your control. Some of the things that may fall within your influence but not direct control might be what information people hear and understand about the events. So you may be able to talk to them and perhaps might shift their knowledge or understanding, but may not. Their opinion may not change. And others' behaviour, particularly others' high-team behaviours, you could talk to them about that, and that may have some influence, but it also may make no difference at all. So the factors that you do have control over are following the hygiene and health recommendations for yourself, attaining updates and ensuring that you're getting that information from legitimate sources, managing your own worry, and maintaining your usual health and wellbeing practices. And so this is the circle of control. Those factors that you can control are going to be the most useful place for you to place your energy.
So some other strategies that might be helpful if you are feeling stressed or anxious about COVID-19, or that you might want to recommend to colleagues or students that you know is feeling a little bit stressed, is firstly to stick to the trusted sources of information. So this is places like the World Health Organization and New South Wales Health. Limiting your time on media can be a helpful way to reduce that stress, especially if you notice yourself you're spending a lot of time consuming those news sources or news articles related to COVID-19. It might be helpful to put a limit on how much time you are spending on that each day, say only engaging in reading these articles for 30 minutes a day. It might also be helpful to be aware of helpful versus unhelpful social conversations related to COVID-19, and not being afraid to excuse yourself from those conversations that you feel aren't really helpful to you. Trying to maintain a healthy routine. So that is things like a healthy diet, regular exercise, getting a good night's sleep. And even if you are someone that has to self-isolate, knowing that there's still ways you can engage in a healthy routine through, online guided exercises and using technology to maintain contact with friends and loved ones. And finally, if you feel you are feeling quite overwhelmed or anxious about COVID-19 to the point where you really do feel like it's impacting on your functioning, it might be helpful to talk to a counsellor or some other professional who can provide that support that you need.
Okay, so the university has a number of support options available. For staff, the Employee Assistance Program offers up to 6 sessions of counselling with a psychologist that's external to the university. For students, they can access a counsellor through counselling and psychological services, and we also offer online counselling. So if they're in isolation, they can access counselling via Zoom, Skype, or on the phone. The University Medical Centre is obviously available for any health concerns, but there also is a fever clinic available at John Hunter Hospital, which you can make use of, particularly if you have concerns that you may have COVID-19. And if you witness or experience any perceived racism, you can report this to Campus Care so that it can be addressed. We've got some information up on the slide with some further resources that you can look at. And that's it. Thanks very much for your time.